Hey John, thanks for meeting with me today. So the vehicle I want to cover a little bit more in depth that's part of your fleet is your Fusions. So kind of what I go over today is relatively similar to what we're doing for your F-150s and the few bigger 3/4 tons and 1 ton trucks that you're using. When we get into the Power Strokes, we are mixing things up a little bit. Obviously, it's going to take some different lubes and whatnot, and the maintenance schedule is a little bit different, but we can go in depth on those a little bit later because there's so many fewer of them in your fleet. The big one that we're covering today is your Fusions. So 90% of the ones that you guys are using today are 2016s. It seems like that's the last time you guys re-upped and got new stuff brought in. So everything that you've bought is the all-wheel drive, and it has the 2-liter EcoBoost, which is a great option. They're the kind of the safer option of those vehicles. So with the maintenance that we do on vehicles for the other fleets that work with us, the biggest thing is we stay pretty true to Ford's way of doing things. We stick to the manufacturer's recommendations, where a lot of people have moved from 5,000-mile intervals on regular maintenance and oil changes and inspections. We stay true, while others have gone up to 7,500, 10,000. In some instances, I've talked to people who are pretty comfortable waiting a year, kind of regardless of mileage and whatnot. But for us, we kind of have a 200,000 mile goal in mind on everything that we're working on, and to do our best to make sure that we're going to hit that goal in these vehicles. We stick to what Ford put out with those vehicles when they were manufactured, which is regular 5,000 mile oil changes. That's kind of just the basics. So I'm going to run over a few of the things here that 5,000 mile change has. Obviously, we stick with engine and oil filter. It's pretty basic. We work with the tire rotation on every 5,000 miles. One that's a little bit different, it's recommended in those EcoBoost engines. We're doing spark plug changes every 5,000 miles. They're not super expensive, so it's not a big difference maker, but it's just kind of one of those things to keep your mind at ease. So those are getting changed out pretty regularly. Those engines run pretty tight, and it's one of those easy things to change to make sure that they're going to keep running when you need them to. So the other things that we're doing is a cabin air filter change every 5,000 and a big inspection, along with lubing, obviously checking levels of everything. Even if we're not changing transmission fluid, we're making sure that it looks right. We're taking samples out of everything. They're being tested to make sure that it's not burning, and a big inspection of the suspension and drivetrain to make sure that everything's riding properly. We don't have worn out components and whatnot. So that's kind of just the basics there. The other big one that changes is when we hit the 50,000 mile mark, we are inspecting kind of a little bit more in depth because we're going to change them out as well. Still doing the tests and everything, but we're going to drop differential fluids, we're going to drop transmission fluids and transfer case fluids, change those out, send them in. There's a filter in the transmission that we're changing out. A lot of times we recommend, we kind of leave this up to you guys, whether or not you want a flush to happen as well. We're usually able to offer a pretty good discount on those, so it kind of just makes sense to do it. Like I said, to keep your mind at ease, make sure everything's going to work properly, continue to work properly in the future. Then the one other big thing that we change, and it kind of for our goal happens once. When we hit that 100,000 mile mark, we want to change out the timing chain and the timing gears. This is a little bit more in depth of a process. Takes a couple days. We have to have the vehicle. It's out of commission, but it's going to make sure that we're going to be able to hit that 200,000 mile mark, like what we said our goal is here. And if we still have vehicles running good at 200,000 and we're comfortable leaving them in the fleet, then we'll do it again at 200,000 and we'll keep running with everything. So it can continue to benefit you, and you won't have to pay right away for that replacement vehicle. So just to run over kind of the gist of the maintenance costs, when we get into the first oil changes, we're looking at $334 for those 5,000 mile changes. That's pretty much just cost of materials plus labor. This is pre-discount, working with a fleet. We can talk about those things later, but that's the basis of it. The only difference when we get up to the 50,000 is assuming all fluids are normal, we don't find anything bad going on in the transmission or differentials, we're the same price at that point as well. When we hit that 100,000 mile mark, the timing components in those engines, they're not terrible. We're looking at $125 for the chain and gears. Ford sells them as a complete set. And then our labor, we pretty much quoted about 8 to 12 hours. So it adds up a little bit. You're looking at about $1,000 at least for that one-time maintenance, repair, or replacement, if it, assuming it hasn't failed at that point. But so things will be a little bit more expensive, granted. You're paying a little bit more to get Ford's OEM recommended lubes and filters. We stick with straight Motorcraft, but we have found success in those. We haven't had major issues, assuming the vehicles aren't abused out in the field, and they've had good luck for us in the past, and we fully expect them to continue to in the future. Thank you.